Thank you very much for providing me a floor. It's a huge honor for me to address to the distinguished audience. I am a human rights lawyer, and I'm documenting war crimes in this war which Russia has launched against Ukraine. While this war turns people into the numbers, what we are literally doing, we are returning people their names, because people are not numbers, and life of each person matters. I don't know how historians in future will call this historical time, but the world order, which is based on UN Charter and international law, is collapsing before our eyes. The work of Security Council is paralyzed, and now it's easy to predict that such fires, like wars, will emerge more and more often in different parts of the globe because this international wiring is faulty and sparks are everywhere. Let me tell you something important about Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. This is not just a war between two states. This is a war between two systems, authoritarianism and democracy. And with this war, Putin attempts to convince the entire world that freedom, democracy, rule of law, human rights are fake values because they couldn't protect anyone during the war. Putin attempts to convince that country with a strong military potential and nuclear weapon can break international order, can dictate its rules to entire international community, and even forcibly changed internationally recognized borders. And if Putin succeeds, it will encourage other authoritarian leaders in different parts of the globe to do the same. We are losing freedom in the world. More than 80% of people in the globe live in non-free or partially free societies. This means that people who have a real right to vote for whom they want to vote, who have a real right to say what they want to say, they are minority. And the problem is not just in fact that in authoritarian countries, the space for freedom is shrinking to the size of the prison cell. The problem is that even in developed democracies, people start to put into question the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There are reasons for this. The current generations, they inherited freedom from their great parents. They started to take human rights for granted. They became consumers of democracy. They consider freedom as a possibility to make a choice between different cheeses in supermarket. And that is why they are ready to exchange their freedom for populist promises, economic benefits, and first and foremost, for their own comfort. Perhaps people could afford such behavior in a peaceful time, but I'm sorry, we are not longer in peaceful times. The decades of freedom that marked the fall of the Berlin Wall, all over even for Western societies, let alone for those parts of the globe that have never such a luxury. Change is a new normal. Modern authoritarian regimes do not share common ideology. However, they promote common narratives. They combat humanistic ideas such as human rights, independent courts, or freedom of press. They use new technologies to erode trust between people and inflicting them with cynicism and apathy. Now, even the residents of the small community, they have no more shared sense of reality. Without shared sense of reality, we have no more common actions. Without common actions, how we can protect our freedom and our democracy? Yes, democracy is not perfect. Many people are disappointed with it because a larger number of problems, including social inequality, remain unsolved. But authoritarian regimes don't solve these problems either. People simply don't have the right to complain. We were so confident that freedom and democracy was the final answer, so we stopped to promote it. We have to explain people that we have to perform two tasks in parallel: to protect our democracy and to perfect our democracy, because we have no alternative. The alternative to our imperfect democracy is a hell of the restored Soviet Gulag. And let me finish with a story of my colleague, Ukrainian journalist Victoria Roshina. She was brave, very talented, and dedicated to journalist profession. In autumn 2023, she went to the occupied territories because she believed that this is her journalist duty to tell truth what Russia is doing with people in occupied territories. And she disappeared. Now we know she was abducted by herself, severely tortured, and illegally transferred to Russia. We know that she didn't receive medical care, and according to the words of her cellmate, her weight was just 30 kilograms. But we still have no idea how she died. Russians refused to return her body for 6 months to the grieving parents. And when they did, we found a body with horrible signs of tortures, and several internal organs were missing: eyes, brain, and part of trachea. Why I told this story? Because my colleague, Victoria Roshina, deliberately risked her life for the truth. She believed that truth matters, and I don't think that she is naive. So let me finish with this, that our future is not just unclear, it's also not pre-written. And despite everything, this story of our struggle for freedom, it's a life-affirming story, because these dramatic times raise hope. And hope, it's not a confidence that everything will be fine. Hope, it's a deep understanding that all our efforts have a huge meaning. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleksandra. And you have been uncompromising. Victoria, who you described, made the ultimate sacrifice for being uncompromising in her demands for democracy and freedom and holding truth to power. At the same time, we've seen President Zelensky face increasing accusations of silencing critics using lawfare. We saw street protests for the first time over the summer in Ukraine. How do you keep from falling into cynicism and keep telling Ukrainians and other people around the world that they should not drop their demands for full democracy, even when other sources of hope are not fully meeting expectations?
We have no alternative. People in Ukraine dream about peace, but peace doesn't come when country which was invaded stop fighting. That's not peace, that's Russian occupation. An occupation is the same war, but just in another form. And Russian occupation, it's extremely horrible. It's not just changing one state flag to another. Russian occupation means enforced disappearances, torture, rape, denial of your identity, forcible adoption of your own children, filtration camps, and mass graves. This is Russian occupation. Putin openly says there is no Ukrainian nation, there is no Ukrainian language, there is no Ukrainian culture. For 12 years, we have been documenting how these words converted in horrible practice in occupied territories, where Russians physically exterminate active local people in communities, mayors, journalists, children writers, teachers, environmentalists, priests, how they banned Ukrainian language and culture, how they destroyed and robbed Ukrainian cultural heritage, how they take Ukrainian children to Russia, put them in Russian education camps, told them, you're not Ukrainian, you're Russian children, your parents, your families refused from you, and you will be adopted by Russian families who will bring you up as Russians. So we literally have no choice. Because if we stop resisting and Russia will occupy the whole country, we will cease to exist.
Okay, thank you so much, Oleksandra. Thank you for your work and for sharing your story.